Magic the Gathering produced the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set, and I went ahead and went what I consider all in on this set. I found any extra money that I had available, and I'm glad I did because I believe it's one of the sets that has held the largest amount of value since its release, and it just continues to be desirable. And it's a really, really neat set. They had the set boosters and the draft boosters. Again, draft boosters are designed for being like at a specific table setting, and we're not going to like build your collection with them. We're just going to play and then hopefully win more. In addition, there were collector boosters. This that I have to open is going to be a collector booster sample pack, which is just a small taste of what a collector booster can be like. And there are some really, really awesome collector cards in here, literally worth thousands. It would be incredible to pull one, not likely because it's not very many cards in the sample. The sample booster only has, I believe, like 2 or 3. The set booster, this is where if you find Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth set boosters, they could be hanging at any store, and you could open one, and you may end up with this exact set of cards. There are fewer high-dollar cards in the sets. However, it's still Lord of the Rings, and so much of this actually plays amazingly. Let's see what kind of awesome cards we have here. This one is the Memorial to Genius. This one is a land, and basically it allows you to use it as a blue or draw a couple cards, which is kind of cool. We won't get into, again, I'm trying to not get into set mechanics too much, but one of the cards that I got the most of was this Dunland Crebins, these bird creatures. I have a whole bunch of those. They seem to be like they almost put one in every card. Now, this is a pretty wild card. I don't want to spend a ton of time looking up a ton of cards, but this one might be worth it because this Plantar of Orthic, this card alone, it just does so much. It's a really, really great card to play with. It's an amazing Magic the Gathering card, and it's the cool crystal balls that you see in the Lord of the Ring movies. That's what we're looking at there. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what we have here. I'm very excited as well to build a deck around this specific card, Smeagol Helpful Guide. This is where you're able to just go through and do so many really cool things where you end up getting lands from your opponents, and it's just a pretty wild card. This is, I don't think, crazy valuable, but it just plays so well. We have Nasty End, that is, let's see, you sacrifice a creature, draw cards. Okay, that one is a little bit different text on Arena, Magic the Gathering Arena. That card plays a bit differently, so that one's not quite what I was thinking. We got Butterbeer Bree Innkeeper, or Butterbeer Bree Innkeeper. So the Innkeeper of Bree is offered here. I hope you'll be comfortable. You'll be wanting supper. I don't doubt that. As soon as maybe this way now. Okay. Right here is Rose Cotton of South Lane. Nice white card. Peregrine Took. One of the main characters here. We have Sam, get breakfast ready for the 9:30. Great storyline pulling in from Lord of the Rings. Now for Wrath, now for Ruin. A very classic quote we see in the movie. The character speaking this is in like a castle, and then he rides out on the horses. This scene does a great job. I really, really love that they didn't just take movie clips, but at the same time, the images capture the emotion of the scene but it's not a copy of the scene. It's quite impressive. I'm quite blown away on how they did this. Our text is, the captains of the West came at last to challenge the Black Gate and the might of Mordor. Surrounded by orcs, again, a very relevant part of the storyline in the movie. There are orcs everywhere. There's this feature in gameplay that you could learn about amass orcs if you're interested. Orcish medicine, again, a relevant part of the movie that comes up. Mordor muster, orcs, thousands of orcs. Nice, hobbits must go to those places. Something that Gollum speaks when they are, I believe that's when they're venturing the wilderness. And the art cards. Ooh, that's a cool looking one. Big fan of those art cards. All right. Let's really get some Lord of the Ring kind of tone going, which is really nice. One of the things I love about how Magic did Lord of the Rings in this particular set is that it very much feels like Lord of the Rings is like the book or the movie is what we're experiencing as we read through this. Literally, even this token, like that feels like when the giant rocks are being thrown at the castles. Just fun. Now for Wrath, now for Ruin. We saw that one last time. Minas Tirith is a land card. It's a legendary land. So this is a much more important and valuable land card to be aware of. Very cool. Legolas, Counter of Kills. This kind of is relevant if you think about when Legolas and Gimli are battling, and Legolas is keeping count of his kills. Kind of fun. What's this? Voracious Fellbeast. All right, just one of the wicked creatures in Lord of the Rings. Shadow Summoning. Who shall the horn be? Who shall call them from the gray twilight, the forgotten people? The heir of him whom the oath they swore. Melbeth the seer, the heir of him who the oath they swore. So this seems a little bit interesting. The movie, I feel like, portrayed this much better than this particular card does. The idea is there's a relevant character, I won't give away who it is in case you haven't seen it, who goes into the mountains and calls upon the dead to fight on their behalf. And that's kind of what this card's saying. And there is no mention in the movie of the horn and what that relevance is. And it doesn't just say the heir of him to whom the oath they swore. There's a whole bunch of conversation about the oath. I think the movie does a much better job explaining this particular scene than that card does. We got Theoden, King of Rohan, a pretty epic character. Looks nothing like the art on the card, but still feels like a very similar tone of just a prominent. You can tell this guy's got to be some kind of a, thinking about the blade and the way his outfit's set, he's definitely going to be a bit of a horse rider, very well known. That Rohan, definitely prides themselves on their horse. You see some of the horses here and here. Let's read our flavor text here. We say, dark have been my dreams of late, but I feel new awakened. I only fear that already you have come too late, Gandalf. So this is Theoden speaking to Gandalf at the moment the card is quoting. And it feels almost like a direct quote from the beginning at the start, but it shifts and it no longer is directly from the movie. So similar tone. It does portray more of an image of what's happening on that one card. I think it does a great job. Breaking the Fellowship. It might have been mine. It should have been mine. Give it to me. Again, a super relevant part towards the end, I believe, of the first movie is when you see this line happen. And this particular character undergoes a pretty significant character development moment in speaking that he wishes he had the ring and he understands it should have been his and he demands it. So if you see that moment, if you're watching the movie, it's well worth paying attention to that character as he finishes his scenes there. Glorious Gale. This is just a really fascinating moment. In the movie, again, it does a really good job with some of this. The text on this is the elves of Lorien took Dol Guldur. Galadriel threw down its walls and laid bare its pits, and the forest was cleansed. This feels almost more like backstory of Lord of the Rings, and not something that was directly in the movie, but it very much is hinted at from time to time. The torment of Gollum in Mordor, all that he knew was forced from him. So that definitely is covered through the movies as well. Soothing of Smeagol. Frodo's heart sank. This was too much like trickery, and certainly what he did would seem a treachery to the poor, treacherous creature. Smeagol undergoes quite a few character moments throughout the series. Captain of Umbar. There's a great fleet drawing near to the mouth of Anduin, manned by the coursers of Umbar in the south. They have long ceased to fear the might of Gondor. And I actually don't recognize this name. This is Beregond. That may be a character in the book that is not mentioned in the movie. There's quite a few like that. One of my favorites that I do know well and has an amazing Magic the Gathering card is Tom Bombadil. That would be quite impressive to grab a Tom Bombadil card. And one thing they did in this set was they did have the map of Middle-earth on the different basic lands, but the big criticism is that they're like zoomed in and out on different angles. So we see the White Mountains here, we see Gondor here, we see Rohan, so you can get a little bit of an idea of where these places physically are, but some of them are zoomed in real far, some are zoomed way out. It's a little bit strange seeing how they all worked out. So in this, I believe this is the daughter. Yeah, this is Goldberry, River Daughter, so this is essentially the daughter of Tom Bombadil. So she has her art card there. Very nice. All right, and our last pack for Lord of the Rings is a collector booster. I don't remember how many cards are in here, but it's not a ton. Let's see what we get. All right, with collector boosters, anytime you get into the collectors, collector cards are known to be significantly more valuable. This is the only place where, if you heard of the One Ring craze, this is the only place you would have found a version of the One Ring serialized would be in a collector booster. I don't really think there's a chance of getting a serialized in a collector sample, but I have no idea. This could be cool. First, we have Sauron, the Necromancer. All right. We don't have any text to explain what's happening, so this is where you do need to know who Sauron is from the movies. If you don't, it is well worth watching. And nasty end. All right. Lord of the Rings. Hopefully that gets the feel of Lord of the Rings, even though we're talking Magic the Gathering and we're looking at Magic the Gathering cards. These are cards that are available through the Lord of the Rings set. I hope you enjoyed it.